I'm a working man. I'm a laborer.
Yeah, so you get your physical fit. You get paid to stay physically fit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the way to go, brother.
It's not. That is not. No. Yeah.
Hey everybody, your buddy Basil here, and you are listening to the Joy-Spiracy Theory. Just want to apologize real quick. It's been a couple weeks since an episode came out. This one was actually recorded about a week ago, or so. I'm just gonna put "or so" at the end of every date/time space continuum measurement that I ever make. But just had some personal things going on. Just been moving around, trying to get my life together. You know how it is. But that's okay, because we're here now, and it's just going to be great. Today, we have Johnny Iron from The Iron Show. Yes, that's right. Johnny Iron from The Iron Show. The legendary Fringe Christian podcast. Some of you may be listeners. Some of you have yet to become listeners. But really, I mean, it's been around for a long time. It had been out for a few years even before I started podcasting. So Johnny's he's a really great guy. He actually helped Gonz and I kind of get started. He was a great source of free advertisement, which is always a nice thing. But so I decided to have him on. This was the first time we've talked in a while, and it's just a good time. But before we get to that, I just want to thank everybody for supporting this podcast on patreon.com. That's patreon.com/thejoyspiracy theory. We thank you, Aurora, Beth, and Judy, as our brand new Patreon supporters. You guys, I just can't thank you enough. We're getting closer and closer and closer to our first goal of $500 a month, which will help keep these more consistent and take the whole team of producers over here at the Joy-Spiracy Theory, which is me, Monty, and Monty the Second. Yes, it's me and my two cats who are over here working diligently, but I'm the only one who can work the keyboard, so it's a slow process. Anyways, thank you, Aurora, Beth, and Judy, and anybody out there who pledges some support before this comes out. Anyways, let's see. Oh, quick disclaimer. So, if you know Johnny, you know that he is a wild man, and he certainly is. He's got just such amazing, crazy, just unbelievable stories from his life, and, a lot of times when people have these kinds of experiences in life, they're very, very interesting individuals. And Johnny, I know you're listening. There's also listeners of the Johnny Iron Show listening. You get it. You get it. You get it. Anyways, that being said, a couple of adult topics. That's a little strong, maybe, but somewhere going towards that. Some intoxicant use and some things of that nature. So if you got young kids, maybe give this one a listen by yourself first and decide if that is something that you want them to hear old Uncle Basil discuss. Okay, but it's going to be great. We talk about intoxicants and drugs and mental illness and psychic geese and, of course, joy. So I had a really great conversation. I hope you guys enjoy it. I think that's it. Oh, if you haven't done it yet, go like the Facebook page, go leave a rating and review on the Facebook page or the iTunes platform. It's not an iTunes page, it's a whole thing on its own. Anyways, you get it. Go do that, because it really helps spread the word of the show. And yes, okay, I think we did it. I think that's it. Patreon.com/thejoyspiracy theory. All right, here we go. Johnny Iron from the Johnny Show. Johnny Iron from the Iron Show. Johnny Iron from the Iron Show. Johnny Iron from the Iron Show. What's up? Yeah, it'll all make sense. Okay, enjoy.
Release the Kraken. Oh yeah! Oh yeah, baby!
You had it all queued up and everything.
Oh yeah, baby!
You're
You're
a
in the Iron Show
champion.
studio now. You've just stepped into La La Land.
Everybody. Dude, I can't even start. I can't even do it. You got it all. You want to just do the show?
Why don't people take me seriously?
Yeah.
Such a classic, such a legendary intro. And, you're just a legendary guy. Johnny, how you doing, buddy?
All right, baby. All right, hanging out in the Iron Show studio, talking to you on my super hot dynamic mic. Me and Derek Gilbert are the only ones that use really old-fashioned, super hot monster dynamic microphones.
Yeah, well, we're gonna, we could have a special, maybe we could do a bonus episode where you and I just talk shop for an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
There you go. What are you grateful for today, Mr. Johnny?
I'm grateful to be on the Joyspiracy Theory. Oh, I feel happy, joy feelings. And Basil, you inspire joy feelings in everyone you meet.
Oh, gosh. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if
Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. Did you just have your whole soundboard there set up? Did you get any special sound effects for the Joyspiracy Theory or what?
I didn't. Those are my standard Iron Show sample deck.
Yeah, so we're giving everybody a taste of the Iron Show. And just so everybody knows, I'm sure I mentioned this in the intro that I recorded alone, but this is Johnny Iron from Iron Show Live.
Oh, yeah.
You've been...
Oops, where's my other button? Oh, there it is. Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah. You know that I got that from a local band in Portland when I was a kid, Wild Dogs. There's the lead singer, Matt, Fat Matt. He had a big, huge belly, and he had this leather jacket. Wild Dogs were a heavy metal band. It was back in the early '80s, and I went to a lot of their shows. They were really cool. But the singer, Fat Matt, had this. He had this really big belly, and he had this leather jacket on, and the belly was hanging out. And he'd go, like, halfway through the show, he'd go out to the front of the stage, and he'd zip open his leather jacket, and his big belly would flop out, and all these gorgeous girls would be grabbing his belly and shaking it around. He'd be going,
Oh, my gosh. Hey, it sounds like that guy's living the life, if you ask me.
Fat Matt actually became like he's got a 3 record labels. He's actually still alive. I just contacted him.
Wow. Okay, so immediately I'm going to say, coming from, seems to be that you came from a place where when you reference somebody in your young adult life, you have to preface that you think they're still alive.
Yes, and that's another thing. The Iron Show, ironshow.com, going into our 8th year. We're most of the way through our 8th year, about to celebrate our 8th anniversary. And it was designed after a kid that I grew up with in high school, Don Henson. And Don Henson was really wild and loud and sleazy. He's kind of like the class clown. And, everybody wanted to be friends with him, just because he was just so off the wall, but he was like the wildest, sleaziest guy I ever knew, real punk, a true punk.
Right.
And one day I was walking by the music room and I heard the most beautiful piano music I'd ever heard in my life. It was like, dude, it was like Liberace and Elton John, and it was like incredible. And I stuck my head in there, and there's Don Henson playing one of his songs that he wrote.
Wow.
And there was people that it was so good that there was girls standing there by him crying and stuff.
Wow, this seems like a pretty eclectic fellow.
Yeah, and so the Iron Show is designed on Don Henson. It's designed after his image. It's designed to be really, really wild, loud. Can't really be sleazy because I'm a Christian, but I'm close. I push it. But at the same time, after we go wild, we go as deep as we possibly can.
Yeah.
And, the Iron Show is really wild. You listen to it, you're like, man, this is too much. It's too wild for me. And then if you keep listening, you'll learn something because
Yeah,
we got.
I was going to say, our shows, while you and I, let me just preface this too, you and I have been, you were a guest on one of the first Canary Cry radio episodes. I don't even remember. I think it was in the teens or something.
Nope, Canary Cry Radio 26.
26. Oh, there you go. I was close though.
It's hard to find. You can find it on YouTube if you really look, but it's kind of faded into obscurity.
You should be able to find it on iTunes. Have you looked on iTunes? I don't know. We need to fix something if we can't find it on iTunes.
It's hard to go way, way back in history.
Yeah.
Well, limit. Anyway,
so that being said, you were like one of the first guests that we had. Back then, we were doing a lot more solo shows too. So you may have been in the top 10 actual guests that we had, and you've amassed quite the following over the years with the Iron Show. And I don't know how many of my listeners necessarily have heard the show, but I bet it's a good number of them because you have just been trucking for a while.
yeah, we're almost to our 8th anniversary. Ironshow.com, ironshow.com. That's ironshow.com and
Oh,
Iron Show Live on the Fringe Radio Network.
There you go. So now I want to ask you this question right off the bat. Because the Iron Show, I mean, you are an eccentric fella. It seems like you got a good attitude. You like to have fun. You like to just go wild. And the Iron Show, it is a reflection of that in a way. I'm always curious because I know that there's always somebody out there who has something negative to say about everything. I mean, Lord knows I've experienced that myself. But, I mean, you gotten any heat for being a little too crazy over the years?
Only one person, believe it or not. I thought I was going to get nothing but flack when I went out there, but it turned out there was all these, doctors and lawyers and college professors that were listening to it and sending me emails and just blowing me away. Because the Iron Show gets really deep if you keep listening. So, because, we do we're one of the few podcasts that do these really wild Bible studies and stuff. But one guy, one of our guests, Philip Collins, who wrote The Ascendancy of the Scientific Dictatorship.
Yeah.
He did a review on me and said that the Iron Show is nothing more than a nonstop tailgate party.
I don't even know if that is a negative review.
I know, I like it. I contacted him and I said, dude, give me some more bad press. Because, bad press is actually better than good press if you're trying to get out there.
Well, it's certainly better than nothing.
Yeah, it's better than nothing, yeah.
All right, so, I have a feeling that we kind of breached some of these topics that I'm about to bring up on the episode. But it's just so interesting because, I mean, you're an interesting guy and, as much as we have not spoken over the recent years, we're around each other. We see each other. We support what each other are doing. But we haven't gotten to talk for a while, man. So, if we repeat something, that's okay. It's just because my listeners, they want to dive on in. They want to see what's inside that strange shaped head of yours.
Cool.
Okay.
I love to talk about me.
Yeah, there you go. That's the great part about this show. People get to come on and just talk about themselves for a couple hours. It's really rewarding for everybody involved. Okay, so like I said before, like you mentioned, and I remember this from our other episode. You'll bring up people, and throughout my life, I've met people like this, where they kind of have to be like, well, I wonder if that guy's alive, or surprisingly, that guy's still alive. Like, what was your young adulthood like? Like, what was your childhood like? I like to get the broad span of people's lives and how they came to God and how they got where they're at, and not necessarily just like your conversion moment or whatever, but give me the whole story.
Well, you talked about people that you think are dead, but they're alive. I ran into Don Henson's sister in 1984, the very beginning, January, February, in a mall. Don Henson's little sister. And then the Iron Show is modeled after Don Henson. And she told me that Don Henson died of AIDS.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And anyway, about 3 weeks ago, I found out he's alive. And so I contacted.
Wow.
Yes, he's a famous Portland musician. He's a working musician now.
Why did she lie to you?
He said, yeah, he called his mom as soon as I told him that. And they were, both, crying on each other's shoulders about it. But yeah, I don't know. She was just mean, I guess.
Huh?
I liked her. I always liked her. She was so nice to me. So, Don Henson would write a song. Like, my favorite song he ever wrote was Easterling in a Scooter. And I actually stole that from him and did my own version. And she would sit there and listen to me play it and sing it. She goes, I like yours better. But anyway.
So where was this? Where in the world did you grow up where this was going on?
I grew up in Tigard, Oregon, which is a little suburb outside of Portland.
Oh, so you kind of got that Portland vibe, but you were kind of like from the weird suburbs of Portland.
Portland has always been pretty wild. When I grew up in the 70s, it was the third dangerous city in the nation.
Whoa.
I mean, it was like Detroit, New York, and Portland.
I did not know that Portland had that in its history.
Yeah, it's tame now, but back then it was seriously dangerous. Yeah, I mean, I grew up a partier and a musician. I mean, as soon as I'd been playing piano since I was like 6 years old. I took lessons from my grandma, who was an organ player at the St. James Episcopal Church. And so when I met Don Henson, everything changed, and I learned how to write songs. And then I started playing guitar. And then when I was writing songs, I was singing on the piano. And after I'd played pretty much every instrument there was, I discovered there was nothing like taking my shirt off and screaming on stage. So that was my thing. I didn't want to play anything unless it was for writing the song. And then I'd work it out with the other band. You know how that goes. You work it out with the other band members. And we had become famous on the West Coast, avant-garde. We had a producer and everything that was showcasing us in different venues. And we were about to record an album, and then he got busted because the money for his production company was fueled by cocaine.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it. That catches up to you eventually.
Yeah.
In one way or another.
Oh, I remember just before it happened, we were at this huge party at his mansion, and he goes, dudes, like, come on upstairs. I got to show you something. So we go upstairs in his bedroom. He has this, huge fancy bedroom, like a drug lord or something. And he pulls out this suitcase from under his bed, and he opens it up, and he goes, that's $50,000. That's your recording. That's your album money.
Oh, my gosh.
So we were about to go into the studio and record our first album, and then bam, everything blew up, and the drummer left, and Lindsay, the bass player, went down to California, and me and Cookie Crane were trying to start, the band back up, but we were failing left and right, and that's when things just went insane, and I started falling in with a bad crowd, and I was at an Aleister Crowley seance,
Whoa.
And I think that's where I picked up a demon, because I had this thing whispering in my ear and blowing on my earlobe. And it wasn't anything more, like it wasn't telling me what to do or what it thought of me. It was just going, Johnny, Johnny. I was so scared, dude. I was so scared. And
at an Aleister Crowley seance?
Yeah, I think that. I mean, that's my theory. That's where I picked this thing up.
That's crazy. I mean, hold on. I mean, all of it. I want to know more about all of it. How did you find yourself at an Aleister Crowley seance? How, I guess that was just kind of the thing to do when you're a punk rocker in Portland, or what?
Yeah, heavy metal singer, basically.
Heavy metal, okay.
Yeah, not punk. We weren't punk. We were semi-sophisticated, but yeah.
Is that how it goes? It goes punk is the lowest, and then heavy metal is a little bit more sophisticated?
Yeah, it was fairly advanced,
Okay.
Real music. Yeah, but yeah, I used to, the singer in Everclear, I can't say his name anymore, because my name memory's really gone bad after I hit age 50. I'm 54 now.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people will commiserate with you.
Yeah, the lead singer in Everclear, there's this bar that everybody hung out in Portland, all the musicians. And when I'd come in, he'd get off his bar stool and give it to me. He goes, "Oh, here comes big time. You got my bar stool." So
okay.
I mixed in with, a crowd that led to finally an Aleister Crowley seance.
Wow. What was that like? Like, what is going on there? Is it
You know,
just candles and robes, or just like rock and roll and drugs?
no, it was an abandoned house, and it was candles, no robes, and it was an Aleister Crowley book of his spells, his magical workings.
Yeah.
And they were going through it, trying to evoke a magical working. And, if you want to know about magical workings, there's a podcast, and I own the Fringe Radio Network, and there's a podcast that wants to be on it, but it's against our bylaws. But it's called Charm the Water. And if you want to know how that's done, listen to Charm the Water. But I don't recommend it except for, reference.
Educational purposes.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, that's how I believe that's where I picked up the demon, because just a day or so after that, it started whispering in my ear.
Wow.
And there was this Pentecostal guy, that I knew, and he was just meaner than a rattlesnake. He was an old snake bite Pentecostal guy with a big gray beard, and he looked like a bear, and he'd just sit there, at work in the lunchroom telling everybody they were going to burn in hell and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, okay, Louis, yeah. He used to actually, what he would do to people, people were out there, outside, on a smoke break having a smoke, and Louis would come up, real nice. He'd, can I borrow your lighter for a minute? And they go, oh, yeah, Louis, and hand him their lighter. And he'd burn their finger. And they'd be, that's what it's going to be like in hell unless you repent.
Hey, that's hardcore. I mean, different strokes for different folks, I guess.
But when I had this thing whispering in my ear, I ran to Louis. I said, dude, I think I got a demon. The thing is whispering in my ear and blowing on my earlobe. I'm scared to death. He goes, oh, we got to get you to the church, my friend. So I was led on an April morning in 1985. I was led through the sinner's prayer in a snakebite Pentecostal church, people rolling around on the floor, foaming at the mouth, speaking in tongues. I had all these dudes praying over me, speaking in tongues. And it was people say, I was saved, but dude, I was extra saved. Dude, yeah, I wasn't just saved. I was saved, my friend.
Yeah, you had the whole deal going there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's very interesting. Now, how did that go from there? Were you like, were you just that start attending? Did you start carrying snakes around, or like, how did it go from there? Were you a full convert right off the bat?
No, Louis taught me that you have to study the Bible. He had a 250-year-old King James Bible, and I would go to his house and read it, and he would talk to me about, decent theology, because he had real strong, decent core theology. And he led me away actually from the Pentecostal church, because he was once saved, always saved. He led me through many studies on that.
Yeah.
And so we sort of became sort of a hybrid between Pentecostal and Baptist. There was a Foursquare church that was full gifts, tongues and everything, but they were also once saved, always saved, like the Baptists.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So, yeah, and he led me to J. Vernon McGee, who everybody knows J. Vernon McGee. I mean, the Bible bus, probably the greatest Bible teacher that ever lived on the radio. I actually met him a year later in 1986. I shook his hand, and he signed my Bible. J. Vernon McGee, Philippians 1:1-6, having confidence in this very thing, that he that has begun a good work in you will continue it and perfect it until the day of Jesus Christ. So
there you go.
We're on that path. We're in that process.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Now, if you don't mind, I almost want to take like a couple steps back, because getting into the heavy metal, and especially you mentioned that your grandma had taught you piano?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it like growing up? Like, were you suburban at heart, or what did it look like?
I lived on top of a mountain in the suburbs, but it was up on a mountain, so it was a tiny bit more isolated than being down in the big neighborhoods down there. But yeah, I lived in the forest when I was a kid. My dad I was raised by a longshoreman. He's meaner than a rattlesnake. He still is meaner than a rattlesnake. I go up there and it's just traumatic, but he's my dad. He's the only one I got, the only dad I got. So I go up there and he gives me a bad time and I hug him and kiss him and then leave. But anyway, I was scared to death of my dad. My dad would be drinking, with the longshoremen. He'd come home really angry. And I would, as soon as I saw his truck coming, I'd run into the forest until dark. So I grew up in the forest, really.
What? Little forest child.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, I really relate to those movies with the kids growing up in the forest.
Yeah, just kind of running out and hitting things with sticks all day.
There was huge valleys and gullies with gigantic fir trees, and in Oregon it's a Christmas tree forest. So we would build rope swings, and build tree forts that were like 100 feet up in the clouds.
Wow.
It was just awesome, dude, growing up, and we were really into go-karts and motorcycles, and mini bikes. And then when I was 14, I discovered marijuana.
Uh-oh. 14, you said?
Yeah.
Whoa, look at you.
Yeah.
Cool kid over here.
I was not corrupted. I corrupted myself, which is really interesting. I went to my friends, and I asked them if they knew where to get any pot.
Whoa.
And they're like, why?
No, there had to be some sort of like influence there. A kid doesn't just know about pot.
Yeah, well, our governor, Tom McCall, we were the only state to decriminalize it in 1973.
Wow.
So from 1973 on, if you had anything less than an ounce, you just got a ticket, like a traffic ticket.
Right.
And they would take it away. But when I got busted with it probably 30, 40 times, all the cops knew my name. We were all friends, finally. They'd come in, we'd be smoking pot, in the parking lot, and they'd come by and make me roll down the window, and they'd go, hey, go over by that light. If you're under the light, we're not going to bug you. I'm like, okay. So we just pull over the light and party on. One time, here's a good story. One time, I had a van. I had a Chevy van, panel van, like the old hippie vans, and 1968 Chevy van. And it was an old, like, automatic, turbomatic transmission, and it had a high idle. So when you just let your foot off the gas, the idle was enough to keep it going about 15 miles an hour. So all my friends did a bunch of LSD. There was like 5 or 6 of them in the back of my van, and they were all freaking out because they did too much. It was window pain. It was really intense, and they're all in the back freaking out. And I pull into the parking lot. I'm on strawberry mescaline, so I'm like a happy elf. And they're freaking out, all scared and everything. So I pulled into this giant parking lot in this park, and I went to the middle of it, and I cranked the steering wheel all the way to the left, and I pulled off my T-shirt and tied it to the door handle and jumped out of the van.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. And I'm sitting on the curb, probably 100 feet away, and just watching my van go in circles, and all the dudes, I could hear all my friends in the back, and they're screaming and stuff, and they couldn't get to they were too high to get to the steering wheel and untie the T-shirt from it. So I'm just letting them spin for like a half an hour.
Bro, that's like true, like, Fear and Loathing in the Portland forest status.
Yeah, finally I jumped back into the window and untied the steering wheel and stopped the van, and they all rolled out of the van barfing all over the parking lot.
That doesn't sound like fun. That doesn't sound like fun to me.
It was fun for me.
Oh my gosh, strawberry mescaline apparently is the way to go.
I used to actually, when we talk about tree huggers, I did a bunch of strawberry and chocolate mescaline, and it's made out of peyote.
What is that? Are these flavors? What is this?
They would take peyote cactus and dry it out and powder it and mix it with Nestle's Quick, either strawberry or chocolate. Nestle's Quick.
Well, that's creative of them.
Yeah, and then you'd eat it. It was really good. I don't know, the combination of peyote and Nestle's Quick really makes a good combination. It was really good.
Oh my gosh, kids out there. There are children who listen to this show, Johnny.
Oh, no! Don't do it, kids.
Drugs are bad, man.
It's dangerous. But, yeah, anyway, it's a really Indian spiritual high. So, you talk about tree huggers. I hugged a tree for 8 or 9 hours. And I really felt like it was like my tree friend.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you were kind of like lined up for some pretty hardcore Aleister Crowley experiences. Like
Yeah,
you've been getting primed.
if you think about it, yeah, I was kind of set up, wasn't I?
Yeah, I mean, you tell me. This was I'm just throwing it out there.
Oh yeah, I mean,
So
but,
so
yeah.
you told me about Daddy. Now, what was Mommy like? Was she out there in the forest running
Mom,
around with you, or what?
my mom, God rest her soul.
Mm.
She was the greatest mom in the known universe. She died, and I watched her die. Held her hand while she died in 2001. That was the worst thing I ever been through in my life. I would, to the listener who is going to, if their mom might be dying or is going to die, I recommend that you don't be with them holding their hand in the last couple hours, because it's the trauma. It's not worth it. It will actually. I got PSTD.
PTSD.
PTSD.
Yeah.
I'm like sick.
Really, that's interesting that you say that, because, like, I don't know. I feel like the halcyon moment that people think about is like, oh, I want to be there with whoever. I mean, really, you hear that a lot about, like, maybe dogs or like something like that. But you're saying when it's your actual mother, like it's just too much.
It was. I mean, because when you're in the last stages of death, your lungs, everything shuts down. All your organs are shutting down, and the system that keeps your lungs clear shuts down. So your lungs start filling up with fluid, and that's what kills you finally. And your lungs start filling up with fluid, and you have less and less and less lung to breathe. And I sat there with my mom while she was just gasping for a teaspoon of air.
Mm.
And she almost broke my hand. She was squeezing it so tight and freaking out.
Wow.
But my mom was the greatest mom in the known universe. She was progressive. By the time I was 5 years old, I knew about every sick thing that people did in the world. She wanted to raise me like to have real knowledge about the evil of mankind. So, I mean, there was actually perverts that hit on me, and I'd say, well, I'm not interested, but my dad would sure like to get together.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go get him. And they were all afraid of my dad,
Wow.
But yeah, Mom.
So you're saying it actually like kind of did teach you a defense against some potential dangerous stuff that was going on.
Oh, absolutely. There's probably 3 or 4 incidents where, since I knew exactly what was going on, I was able to get out of it because I knew what they were going to do.
Wow.
I knew the whole thing. So yeah, at the same time, it was kind of injurious to me because at 5 years old, I was dreaming about fantasies with Catwoman. So that probably wasn't a good thing. But yeah, Catwoman. Oh, Catwoman. I was really into Batman as a kid. But my mom was an artist. She was a wood sculptor, a wood carver. And there's still a wood carving that she has in the White House, actually. It's still there.
Really?
Yes.
Your mom has a wood sculpt in the White House?
Yes. She was very famous in the 70s.
In D.C.? You're talking about the White House?
The White House in Washington, D.C., she carved the Oregon state bird, the meadowlark, and It is sitting in the White House.
Hey, that's pretty interesting.
Isn't it? Yeah, she was why I am probably what I am. She was an incredibly dynamic individual. She was a free thinker. She was progressive. She was kind. She was the nicest person you'd ever meet.
Yeah. Was she...
even if she hated you, she would be really nice to you. So I learned how to fake it. And I really think when we get to heaven and we're facing Jesus, there's a lot. I think he's going to say, you know what? You could have at least faked it, boy. Like that song.
So,
you could have at least faked it, boy.
So did you grow up with any Christian influence at all, or?
My mom was an atheist, but she taught me all about Jesus when I was real little. And I don't know why. This is a huge mystery. I'll never be able to figure it out. But yeah, every night I would say the "Now I lay me down to sleep" prayer. Do you know that prayer?
Yeah, well, I've heard it mostly in like movies and things, but I never learned it.
Yeah, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. If I should die before I wake, I pray the Lord my soul to take.
Yeah, what? So your atheist mother taught you this, and you said it every night as a kid.
Oh, I knew everything Jesus said on the cross. I had that all memorized. She taught me all that. And yeah, and she's atheist though. So, but Oh, it was just part of her progressive mother um, system that she
She
had
just
worked out, I guess.
progressive, just just it's like she really wanted you to have the full gamut as a kid, no matter what it was, even if it maybe wasn't necessarily what she believed.
Or even if it hurt me. I mean, all the things she taught me about, you know, I mean, yeah, I can't talk about it because there's kids listening, but she taught me about all the wicked things that people do. So it
Wow.
really made me worldly as a little kid.
Yeah.
I knew about Jesus, and I knew about all the sickness in the world and all the evil, and I knew about, money. She taught me about finance, how the stock market works, and she taught me about, she taught me Emily Post's table manners to the Queen. By the time I was 5 years old, I knew all of Emily Post's table manners to the Queen. She actually took me through charm school, her own charm school. So I knew how to hold my fork. I knew where to put my napkin. I knew how to use the rinsable spoon, which today, I mean, the primitive people today call it a spork.
I gotta say that I don't want this to come across the wrong way, but that's very surprising to me that was a part of. Have you ever employed the your table manner skills in real life?
Oh, they have profited me very much in my youth. I was a head chef at a Mexican restaurant, but I was a dishwasher first. And when I was a dishwasher, the boss invited me to a dinner, and I used my Emily Post table manners to the Queen. And that was enough to promote me to like the ruler of the restaurant.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and there was a lot of other, incidents. I had long hair down to my elbows. I was just wild, and I'd go to my girlfriend's parents for dinner, and every time they would really be impressed with my table manners. So even though I was like the last person they would want with their daughter.
Hey, good table manners will get you a long way, apparently.
Yeah, I was really pretty when I was a kid. I had 30 girlfriends at once, and my mom used to juggle them on the phone and take notes and try to hide them from each other.
Oh my god, jeez. So it sounds like your mom was like this may seem like an obvious comment, but she was like just a huge part of keeping your life going. I mean, as a kid, I guess that is maybe the most obvious thing I've ever said, but I don't know. It sounds like you've had a unique experience with the mother figure in your life.
Absolutely, I am who I am because of my mom.
Yeah.
I mean, and my dad. See, my mom's side of the family, they were scientists and doctors and philosophers. And you'd go to my mom's side of the family, the Bushnells. Actually, ever heard of Bushnell binoculars, Bushnell rifle scopes?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's my uncle. That was my uncle.
Huh.
Yeah, we used to get free binoculars every year for Christmas. But anyway,
there you go.
That side of the family, my mom's side of the family, after dinner at a family gathering, they would all talk about nuclear physics and, cosmology and, and science, like medicine and then philosophy and New Age, religion and Taoism. My dad's side of the family, they would all get drunk on scotch and get in a fight. So I've got both sides. I've got the longshoreman, and I got my mom. So it's a strange mix,
That is an interesting mix. Now, okay, I got a couple of things, but I want to stick on your mother real quick because now, obviously we don't need to go into anything that you're uncomfortable with.
No, you can't go there with me.
I can't, or I can't go overboard.
You can't make me uncomfortable.
Okay.
I'm a longshoreman.
All right, because I know for a fact of at least a couple listeners who have who are going through similar things, or maybe going to go through it sooner or later. And I heard a quote, and I don't know who this is. I could be quoting anybody really, but hopefully it's not somebody too bad. But they said, what was it? It was for those who haven't lost your mother. There's just no possible way to imagine the pain that it is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially me because, I was always a strange kid. and especially my dad's side of the family, they all thought I was weird. And my mom, in life, she was my advocate. So I had somebody on my side. You know what it's like to have somebody on your side, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, when she died, I lost that. And
Was
I
that
kind
something you didn't find in a whole lot of other people?
Yeah, she was the only one. She was the only one who understood me and was my advocate and encouraged me and reminded me of all the lessons that she taught me when I was a kid. And so when she died, I was kind of floating alone in the universe, and it got really bad. I'm trying to remember back, but I ruined my credit. I almost lost my job. I was making money, the same money I was before my mom died. No problem to pay the bills with the money, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do anything. I'd come home from work and just go into the bedroom and just pass out. I didn't want to. And this went on for like 6 months, and my credit was destroyed because my wife, she wouldn't pay bills. That was my job. And I had plenty of money, but yeah, I would just recommend that you not be with your mother in the last couple hours. That's my advice.
It's an interesting balance, though, because of course somebody would say like, oh yeah, be there until the very end, like so they can pass with you there and surrounded by loved ones. But I think it's a very real and raw and honest thing to say, which what I hear you saying is like, it's just too much. Like death is just too ugly as far as your experience goes.
It was a huge witness, though, to my family. I would do it over again if I had, because Mom was an atheist. And, when somebody's got the death rattles, I mean, it's horrifying. And the rest of the family, they couldn't be anywhere near her. And my dad goes, how can you do that? How can you be with somebody dying like that, especially your mother? I said, Dad, because I'm a Christian. That's what we do. You guys make fun of us, all the rest of the time, but when the stuff hits the fan, this is where we come through. This is our job. We have the answer for death.
Wow.
And so I led my mom through the sinner's prayer, and she was gasping. She couldn't, and all of a sudden she saw Jesus. She opened her eyes and just looked, and she was like, oh, wow, you're real. I go, you're looking at Jesus, aren't you? She nodded her head, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
People do see Jesus as their last few minutes or hour.
That's amazing. I'm curious. Do you know if she grew up like in a religious household, or like did her atheism come later, or I don't know. I don't need to make the whole episode about your mother, but it's just so fascinating.
Well, like a lot of Christians, young Christians, she was raised Methodist, which they're pretty kind of boring. But
sorry, Methodists.
Yeah, I like the Methodist Church, but but good theology and everything. But when her sister's boy died at 6 years old of cystic fibrosis, she prayed and prayed that God would save him, and he died, and so she became an atheist then.
Oh wow!
So you can't do that because there's people. Everybody's gonna die. I mean, if God lets somebody die, there's nothing you can't blame him for that.
Yeah. Because
we all got to go. If God saves you when you're 6, you're going to die when you're 26 or 56 or 86.
Right.
You're still going to die.
It's a pretty cosmic way to look at it, too. It's a big picture way of thinking. It's always a relief to me to when bad things are happening or when things aren't going my way, to try to back up and take a God-sized view of things. Really, the timing of death, and I don't mean to be insensitive about anything to anybody here, but when you take a God-sized view at what's going on, not just in your own life, but just in the universe as a whole, like the time of your death, it kind of seems a little irrelevant. Right,
because, it is, because we're all going to die. That's the one thing. The Psalm 23, yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death.
Yeah, of course.
That's what that means. We're all constantly aware of that day looming in the future.
Wow.
But you know what? The whole world is groaning and travailing because of sin. So that's what we're stuck with,
Yeah, but I think the actions, kind of like you said, that you took as, a strong Christian man in your adult life, and you were really there at the place where nobody wanted to be during the most difficult part of really anything that anybody could go through. And I think you're really right. A lot of times Christianity can get kind of insular and, kind of like an inner life thing without really stepping up in the world and doing the things that need to be done that nobody wants to do. And I think you did that with your mother. And I think that's a great example, just like a really, really hardcore example of like the types of things we're called to do that a lot of people, that's the kind of stuff that people get sainted for. Like in the Catholic... Yeah, all the Catholic saints, they were the people who did that kind of stuff. And, Catholicism isn't necessarily subject to this thing, but I think the point stands.
I do love the Catholic Church. I went through confirmation when I was 12.
Of course you did, with your atheist mother.
Yeah, well, the
by
thing
your
was,
side.
I wanted to play tackle football in 7th grade.
You had to be confirmed.
Oh, yeah.
Confirmed to take the hits.
Yeah, in the public school system, you couldn't play tackle football until 9th grade.
Yeah.
But in the Catholic system, you could start at 7th grade. So I could play 2 years of tackle football, and by the time I hit my freshman year, I was a monster. So that was my big plan. I wanted to be a football star. And I was a nose guard. I played nose guard for 6 years. Catholic school and public school.
Wow.
I was confirmed in the Catholic Church in order to play for St. Anthony's. You had to be confirmed. So I hung out with Catholics as a kid, and there's a lot of things about Catholics that people say about them that aren't really true.
Yeah.
If you're going to bad mouthing Catholics and you hear a bunch of bad things, go actually talk to a real one and ask them.
Yeah, that's true. I've got some Catholics in my family for sure, and it's there's a lot of talk. I don't know. I'm sure people listening to this show have heard, but the whole Vatican, Illuminati, Black Pope. Some people think the Vatican's the beast, and all these sort of things, or the Antichrist. And you got to be careful because at least the people, Catholic people, they're just people. And to try to say that a whole, all those people are the Antichrist is kind of hardcore.
Yeah, the Pope and the Black Pope and the Vatican, that's not your local Catholic church down the street.
Right.
That's not St. Peter's down the street. I mean, if you go to St. Peter's, you don't see any of that weird stuff. I mean, you just see pretty much a regular church. It's kind of interesting. If you actually go to a Catholic church sometime, if you're curious. We got a guy on the Fringe Radio Network. He's an ex-Mexican gangster, and now he's all converted, and he's got a show called Getting Understanding, and that's another. He went to the Orthodox Church and asked them what they really believed, and it was an eye opener. A lot of things you hear about them aren't actually true, which is really, I went to Bethel with Peter Goodgame. Now, everybody hates Bethel Church because
Sure.
Yeah, everybody says they're
the grave suckers and the blah 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 blah
blah blah all that, But go to Bethel Church and you talk to the guys. Hey, where's the grave sucking? And they're like, I don't know. I only saw that on YouTube. But I hung out at Bethel Church with Peter Goodgame for 3 days, and that was like a life-changing experience. And they got kind of weird theology, but it's nothing like people say.
Yeah,
it's a pretty much regular church. I don't know. I would encourage people to actually go to Bethel and hang out. Especially hanging out in the parking lot with the Christians. And
yeah, I've had some Bethel experiences actually.
Really?
Yeah, Gons and I actually went to the Azusa Now thing and spent a lot of time talking. We actually and I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but we actually brought a bunch of recording equipment and talked to a bunch of people, a bunch of Bethel people. I talked to Bill Johnson, talked to Chris, what's his face, and everything. So yeah, we actually did kind of our own little investigation. We haven't done anything with it yet, and I may get in trouble with them for mentioning it on this episode. But yeah, no, I mean, it's even Gans himself was like, they're kind of regular people.
Yeah, I mean, they're a little weird, but not like you hear, on Facebook, the Facebook posts.
Yeah, and they said the same thing. We asked them about the grave sucking, and they're like, oh, yeah, I don't know. I saw that video. I actually never heard of it before.
In the supernatural school, they learn to heal people there.
Yeah.
And there's real miracles happening there. I mean, we witnessed some actual healing miracles there. Right in your face that really was a life changer for me. You know, the Holy Spirit, he's not really checking your theology. He's checking your heart.
Yeah. I think that's powerful. Yeah.
The Holy Spirit is going to show up in a place where people have kind of bad theology. If they got good hearts.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, theology is one of those things where it's not like anybody is creating their theology and then like lying about it. I don't know. Whenever I look into other people's theology that I think is a little strange, I mean, they all have biblical references for it. They all can walk you through the steps of why it is. And, it may just be maybe a little bit of a different interpretation than you've had before. And look, I'm not trying to say everybody's right when they just because they say it or quote a Bible scripture, but they pretty much genuinely believe that because of what they got from the Bible.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of places where you can support, different theologies. The big thing is, you've heard it a million times, context is king.
Yeah.
You have to look at a passage in its larger context, because one verse could be referencing something that you don't even it's called the antecedent. And the antecedent is you'll have a verse and it's talking about something. Well, what is it talking about? Well, it's talking about something that's like 4 or 5 verses earlier.
Right.
So you've got to look at the whole thing. I don't believe that you go clear to the whole Bible for context, zoom out that far, but you should at least zoom out to the whole chapter.
Right. To
get a grip on what's going on. There's a lot of misunderstandings because of one verse theology.
Right.
There are a few verses, though, that stand on their own. Believe in the Lord Jesus Christ and that God has raised him from the dead, and you shall be saved. That'll stand alone.
Nobody's going to try to argue that one.
Yeah, but a lot of verses, if you don't know the antecedent of what it's talking about, you will take it totally the wrong way.
Yeah, and a lot of parables, too. If you don't know historical context, they don't really, they're not – you may get a point. Maybe it's not even the original point that the parable is trying to make, but when you get the historical and biblical context of everything in the parable, then they're just incredibly powerful.
Oh yeah, you gain understanding. So you should actually research, that and get a context of the culture there too.
Yeah.
And is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, no. Ancient Hebrew culture. The imaging and the metaphors and things. When you know what the culturally accepted connections to things were, as far as metaphors and what a fig tree means and what everything means, then you hear a parable and it's just astronomically more powerful. And so, anyways, I enjoyed that as well. But
there's also sayings that you don't understand because you're not in that ancient Hebrew culture. Like, okay, what if somebody 1,000 years from now heard us talking and I said it's raining cats and dogs?
Right.
What would they think?
Yeah.
They would think, oh, wow, the Holy Scriptures said that Johnny and Basil were there and it was raining cats and dogs. And there was a lot of barking and meowing and fighting.
There's excrement everywhere. It was disgusting.
And fur. Lots of fur flying everywhere. But yeah, I mean, you've gotta, and I would recommend, J. Vernon McGee through the Bible. I mean, just type in J. Vernon McGee. Let him take you through the Bible. That's decent theology. Once you get that background, I mean, that's what you really need in order to be stable, because you got to protect yourself from every weird, strange wind of doctrine, especially these days, now that everybody who's not a preacher is getting out there preaching.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Thanks,
kind of got an
Facebook.
issue. If you're not qualified to, you know, profess theology, then you should probably shut up.
Well, a lot of times too, it's like, how much did you really actually put into what you're saying? Like, how much time did you research? How much time did you spend? It seems like a lot of times people are just kind of like, oh, what is this? A new Facebook Live feature? Oh, well, it's my time. I feel the Lord is calling me to start a Facebook church.
Have you seen that one guy? He drinks a lot of beer and he gets blown away in the spirit, and he's like, and there's all these beer cans lying all over.
No, I don't know the exact guy, but I know the type.
Oh yeah, you've got to get a good core. One thing I'd recommend is daily audio Bible. I have ADD and it's really hard for me to read. It's like I can't read the Bible really, maybe a verse or two, but if I can hear it, I'll soak up a whole chapter.
Yeah.
In an hour, and I'll remember a lot of it. And so that's what I do. I've gone through the Bible probably, I don't know, 7 times maybe.
Hey, there you go.
And it's 15 minutes a day, daily audio Bible. You just go to the podcast, download it. 15 minutes a day, you get through the whole Bible in 1 year.
Wow, hey, there you go. Good deal.
So there's a lot of times I've been on the Iron Show, and things are getting really deep. We got, Matthew Miller and Rabbi Mike, and they're just like hardcore big brain, like those big brain dudes on Star Trek,
Yeah.
throbbing in their big brains. And well, I had just heard something on the daily audio Bible that was right there, and so I'll say something and it sounds like I'm some kind of incredible church father mystic
Bible hacks.
but I just heard it the day before that day, and I'll just,
Well,
it's really cool if you know the word. I mean, these days there's really no excuse. I mean, if you don't like reading, then listen.
Yeah.
And,
now,
I mean,
no, I totally agree. We're blessed with new tools in this day and age that obviously can be used for good or evil. But Daily Audio Bible, I think I'm going to check that out. Here, there's a free plug for you, Daily Audio Bible.
Daily Audio Bible. It's read by the guy that reads it is Brian Harden. He's an ex-rock star. He's in there. He has a recording studio in Nashville, and he's got like the voice of God.
That's a good way to get your own Bible reading in. Just start a Bible reading podcast.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally just go through the Bible and read it like he does. I mean, yeah, and he's got a lot of audio equipment, and his voice sounds so cool. So daily audio Bible. If you even have a problem listening, that will be good for you. You'll like it. I actually met him. He came to Portland, and I met him, and I told him about the Iron Show. And I said, I got started on the Iron Show in 2009, and I started getting on with all these big brains and these guests right at the beginning. I realized that I didn't know what I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I came to you.
Yep, I know that feeling. Okay, so we're coming up on an hour here, Johnny, and I just want to make sure you got time. You good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. Just like to do a little check-ins. Good, everybody knows everybody's good. Listener, are you good? Okay, good.
Listener, are you good? Are you good, listener? I like you. Let me tell you about you are a happy person who inspires joy feelings in everyone you meet. Yeah.
A lot of times I have to, when I'm editing this podcast, I put a little hook at the beginning, just a little joke that happens sometime during the conversation, just for something to look forward to. I don't think I have to do my own on this one. I think there's enough of.
No. This blonde is driving her Corvette, and she's going like 80 miles an hour, and this cop is, she lights up the lights behind her, and she goes, "Oh, I'll just charm him with my blonde charm." So the cop comes up to the car, and she rolls down the window. Guess what? The cop is a blonde chick, and she's like, "Oh no, why were you going 80 miles an hour?" She's like, She goes, "Let me see your driver's license," and she goes, What does it look like?" And the cop goes, well, it's a little square thing with your face on it. And she goes, oh, okay. And she rifles through her purse and she pulls out this little square compact mirror and she sees her face in it. She hands it to the cop and she goes, is this it? And the cop looks at it and the cop goes, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were a cop.
Oh my God. Oh man, you just had that one cocked and loaded.
Oh, yeah. I'm a longshoreman. I could do that for a long time.
Yeah,
but
you'll just start a joke podcast where you just you alone, don't even have anybody else there to laugh. You just straight face tell jokes for 2 hours.
Oh, my brother used to do that when we were kids. My little brother Matthew, he would sit there and tell himself jokes for hours and just giggle in the chair. Really weird. Anyway.
Okay. All right. So I think we gotta. I mean, I feel like I could talk to you just about everything that we've talked about up till this point. We could just go for like 5 more hours, but we're gonna take a step forward. I think we've got a good look at Johnny. Up until the point he started kind of waking up to all the weird stuff in the world. You know, you got your conspiracy theories, you got your Bible prophecy, you got your political corruption, you got your. I know probably in the heavy metal scene in Portland, I'm realizing, and with your history with your brother, you were probably learning about the Illuminati at 5 years old.
No, my grandpa taught me when I was a little boy. My grandpa would sit me on his knee and tell me about the 19 men that ruled the world.
You just got everything as a child, man.
Dude, my grandpa was like the original conspiracy theorist. He taught me all about the families and the banks and and all the different cults, the Illuminati and the Benjamin
the Freemasons, the Eastern Star, the Hellfire Club.
My great grandma was Eastern Star.
Oh, classic. I don't know why that doesn't surprise me.
Yes, my grandma Susie educated me all about the Eastern Star and the Masons.
Wow.
So I actually wanted to become a Mason. I still kind of do.
Okay, tell me about that. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't actually want to become a Mason, but I've said that to Gons once in a while just to see what he says.
Oh yeah, that's like a little shock value.
It's just like, Gons, you know what, man? I'm gonna go undercover. I'm just gonna become a Mason. I'm just gonna see what it's like. He's like, no, don't do that. That's how it always starts.
Yeah. You know what? If you got a good core theology and God's going to see, God gave you power to tread on serpents and scorpions and stuff. And, it says in Mark 16:16, those who believe shall be saved. Those who believe and are baptized shall be saved. But those who believe not shall be damned. And these signs shall follow them that believe. And they shall cast out devils, and they shall tread on serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it will not harm them. And they shall pray for the sick, and the sick shall be healed. So when it says they will be able to drink any deadly thing, and it will not harm them, I think I take that allegorically, as once you are really in with Jesus, nothing's going to corrupt you. You're kind of incorruptible at that point once you've really gotten with him. Yeah,
that's an interesting way to do it. And a lot of times people cringe a little bit when you talk about taking things allegorically, but certainly, I mean, there's been Christians who have been poisoned. So maybe allegory is not the worst way to take that one. So you're saying you could join the Masons and keep it all together?
Yeah, not be poisoned by their weird theology.
What would you want to do? Is this for financial gain? What's the end game here? Investigative reporting.
Well, can I be brutally honest with you?
Please do.
With my proximity effects. Ever since my mom died, I've kind of felt like I'm kind of floating alone out there. And I would like to be in with some powerful people that can help me.
Interesting. Now, what do you mean help you?
like in business and protect me from bad guys. Because once you're in a group like that, you're pretty much untouchable. You're like a made man.
Yeah. So, are you worried about bad guys? Do you have bad guys? Do we need to like hide your voice? What's the deal?
No, it's not like that. It's just, I mean, I'm just trying to describe what, that gives you when you're in a group like that. You've got contacts, and you can, if you start a business, you got a lot of people that are ready to help you.
Yeah.
And help you succeed. And if you get into trouble, you got people that have your back. And
like the police chief.
Let me give you an example. When I was 22, I got a traffic ticket. It was a speeding ticket. And I got in front of the judge, and the judge looked at me. It was like he recognized me, right? And he read the traffic ticket, and then he looks at me, and he kind of raises his eyebrow like Mr. Spock, and he gives me this little hand sign. And I looked at his hand, and he looks at me, he goes, "Yeah? No?" I just shook my head like, I don't know that sign. He's like, "Oh, okay." So he threw the book at me.
Whoa.
But he would have just let me go if I was a Mason and I knew.
Oh, that's heavy.
Yep.
That's scary. I do not care for that, my friend.
It's kind of cool when you're actually there, ready to get the book thrown at you, though.
Yeah, I suppose. No, I totally, I get it. You should. If I got that sort of signal from a judge, I probably just would be like, yeah, whatever you say, dog. But
well, I was raised. My grandma. I knew all about the hand signals because of Eastern Star.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what that one meant.
Yeah, this one might have been like, "Do you want the electric chair for this?" And then
no. The hand signal was, "Are you a Mason? Do you want me to let you go?"
No, I get that. I'm just saying you don't know which one it was. He could have been saying something different.
No. Those signs are for identifying each other so they can help each other.
Okay.
That's what those are for. Yeah.
Well, I got to learn those signs then.
My grandma raised me in all the, Eastern Star stuff, and it's all about protecting each other.
Wow.
It doesn't get evil until you get way, way, way to the top.
I mean, I could say, so you just want to be like a level 1 or something. Yeah. Just enough to game the system. Just enough to know the hand signal so you can get out of speeding tickets.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man.
I mean, I'm not going to endorse your quest to become a Freemason, but I can see where that desire would arise.
Yeah, I would like to. I don't know. The brotherhood and the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Really appeals to me. The sense of family really appeals to me. It's not going to happen. I'm not going to do it.
So it seems like something that I don't know, kind of is missing in your life, a little bit of that. Maybe because your mother passing, or you just, I don't know,
right.
You don't have that kind of brotherhood somewhere else.
Yeah, mom died, and then in 2008 when the economy crashed, my day job in the dust factory cut me down from full-time to 16 hours a week. I had a lot of savings, but I went through it in about 8-9 months and then lost my house, and my family left with my house. When we lost the house, they all dispersed.
Oh, my goodness.
And so, found myself in 2012 alone in the trailer park at the end of the world.
Oh, no.
So I'm kind of alone in the trailer park, but there's one thing about being a poor person in a trailer park. You got a lot of people here that have your back. And nobody wants to rob you in the trailer park because they know you're all dirt poor.
Well, that's interesting, man. And again, I'm not here to solve your problems, but I'm sorry to hear that. And
maybe you could.
Well, just start our own secret society. I don't know if I have a lot of pull with the judge, but here's something. Okay, here's something that I think is going to be relevant to talk about, which is a lot of people, especially in our niche. It's kind of hard to find a church family that is kind of on the same page. And a lot of people, as much as people like to say, like, well, you gotta go join a church, become part of a church family. And, I don't know, maybe you are part of a church, but It seems to me that through the people that I've talked to and have hit me up, I mean, I got people send me Facebook messages and emails about how they can't really connect with the church and how it's unsatisfying as far as that goes. And that sort of platitude of like, join a church and, you're part of a family. And even that, I mean, that's like the marketing slogans for many churches. And what's been your experience with that?
Well, let's talk about discernment ministries. I hate discernment ministries.
Oh.
Most of them are unqualified to discern anything.
Yeah, tell me what that means to you.
A discernment ministry is a ministry that goes and finds all the wrong theological things about different denominations, and they, demonize them.
Oh, you mean all of YouTube?
Yeah, pretty
Exposed, debunked.
Well, there used to be in the 70s and 80s, there were like dedicated discernment ministries that had like old-fashioned radio shows, and they would send you, literature, and they would discover all the twisted wrong things about each denomination, and they were pretty much like demon hunters or witch hunters. That's what I want to say.
Yeah.
A lot of they're witch hunters, most of them. Yeah. Some of them are qualified and they're good. Very few, but Peter Goodgame was my all-time hero. I mean, it's talking about 2007 before the Iron Show started. Him and Dr. Future are the reason for the Iron Show. And Peter Goodgame, my all-time hero, became one of my best friends. And he taught me about reverse discernment. Have you ever heard of that?
Is that discerning the discerner?
No, it's discerning the good.
Ooh, hey, I like that.
Yeah, and that's been a huge life changer for me when he taught me about how to discern the good and let the bad slide, let them slide a little bit on the bad. And
a little bit of grace.
Give them the grace, and then go in and look for the good, discern the good, search that out. And really any church, I mean, you can go in there and discern the good and you'd be in, and while you're letting the other stuff slide, yeah, that's what you got to do.
But what's been your experience? Are you a part of a church? Do you not? I mean, you obviously don't feel that brotherhood that you seek.
I have a lot of Christian friends, and especially like here in the trailer park and here and there at work, and I hang out with them, and I go to churches here and there. I don't have a home church. I should. Everybody should probably have a home church. Well,
I don't know. A lot of people find it hard to find a group that they really jive with, especially in our genre,
Well, that's because they're not discerning the good.
Yeah, okay.
You have to search out the things you like about that church. And because you can get really good messages. Some of the greatest things I ever learned was from people who are really dumb.
Yeah.
But they knew something that I didn't.
I'm always curious in the emotional life and the emotional journey of especially people like us, where, knowing about all the things going on, knowing about the secret societies, learning, educating ourselves, waking up to the truth of the world, and over and over and over again, it's proven that it can be a real bummer. It can be a real bummer, a lot of this. Now, you seem to have gotten this education as a child, so maybe you grew up with this. But, I mean, is there any time... it sounds like there's a lot of things going on in the world that are huge bummers. And I'm just curious of what your experience has been with that.
Could you be more specific?
You want me to be more specific?
Yeah.
Well, kind of the classic one that I go to, and we can talk about any of them because this is a podcast about, everybody coming together, realizing that, the world is a bummer and, we can overcome that. Now, specifically, usually I go to waking up to the things about the world, the corruption and the conspiracies, and the world is not what it seems. It's not what it looks like on television. Even the church, a lot of times, and organizations that we trust are not what they seem to be. It's hard to pick one out because you learn so early. Was learning about the secret societies and how the world is run, was that a huge bummer to you as a 5-year-old child?
No, I mean it was just part of my education. When my grandpa taught me about all that stuff, I believed it, and he said that a smart man can, once he knows, can navigate his way through life and turn things to his advantage once
Ooh.
he knows the system. Like, let me give you an example. There is and I don't know much about this. I need to research it more. But I had a friend that was really into this. When in the big deal in the Depression, when Roosevelt made the big deal and confiscated everybody's gold. You remember that part of
Yeah.
history?
No, I do not.
Okay, in the Great Depression, the Roosevelt basically came up with this plan called the Big Deal, the New Deal. Sorry, the
I
New
remember
Deal.
the New Deal. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the Big Deal, the New Deal. And anyway, part of that was everybody had to turn over their gold. So back to the government. So the government would have the gold, and then it could distribute it to form basically a technocracy. I mean, this was the beginning of the technocracy. But so in America, though, the legal system in America and the Constitution and everything, if you do something like that, if you take away the citizens' gold, you have to answer that with a remedy. So the remedy is for that was, and this is really complicated legal stuff, but the remedy for that was, since they took away your gold, then what you got was your own corporation.
Mm.
And so your name in capital letters is when it, like on your birth certificate, that's a corporate document so that you become a corporation, so that you can use that to your advantage if you really know the system. Now you're playing in the big boys sandbox when you do that. So you got to be really careful, but you can use your corporate identity to charge off debt, to charge off liability, to get loans, you can really play the evil system with using your own corporate identity.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, you can turn this to your advantage if you're smart. And the big boys that run the world, if you're stupid and you're the dummy and you're the controlled slave, they're going to keep you that way. But once you get a clue, now they'll let you become one of them, as far as, financially and legally. Once you actually get a clue and they see that, if you're smart about it and respectful, you can turn that whole evil system into your advantage. So,
and this is one of the things that kind of bums you out a little bit, because it's bumming me out, man.
Well, it shouldn't be encouraged, because you, Basil, all your debt could be charged off using your corporate identity, and you could get a loan really that you were unliable for to even pay back. And you could actually gain quite a bit of ground financially using that system to your advantage. It's kind of encouraging, because if you're smart, there is a way to make it work for you.
And again, I don't mean to be disrespectful here, but you're talking about how you lost everything and you're living in a trailer park. How come?
Right.
Why don't you do this stuff, man? You could solve all our problems.
Because I'm just learning about it. And I totally agree with you. Like, if I was talking that stuff and I knew that 10 years ago, well, then what are you doing in the trailer park, you idiot?
No, I wanted to say that as gently as possible, but I was just curious, because if you know something I don't, I need to know it.
Yes, well, I'm just now learning about it, and I will, if you're interested, I will share my research with you.
Yeah, definitely keep me posted. Another bonus episode for the Patreon, baby. Learn how to... No, okay. All right. Yeah, so that's interesting. Now, was there anything... I mean, that's super fascinating. I've actually talked with... what's his name? I don't remember. With a few people about, the whole concept of... citizenship within the United States, the corporate structure of its citizens and things like that, and how, that's how they leverage its citizens as liabilities against debts with other countries, stuff like that. But, actually taking advantage of that system, it seems so daunting that I gotta say, it is kind of a bummer. It's like, I don't know if I'll ever, A, know exactly how to do it, or B, have the guts to actually pull it off, because it's like you said, you're playing in the big sandbox there, and you're going to go through some trials. They're not just going to let you into the club.
Well, they will they're waiting for you to get a clue, and once you do, then they'll let you in.
Yeah.
But you got to be respectful. You got to be careful. You can't be cocky. I mean, this is what I've been learning in the last few months about it. So
okay, well, you'll have to give me the update on how that turns out.
If you're interested, I'll share my research with you.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody wouldn't be interested. So we'll keep in touch. You got my burner number now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. You sent me a text. Hey, do you know? You know when Bitcoin started, it was 25 cents a Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, don't even get me started. I cringe every time I realize that I didn't get in on the Bitcoin thing early.
Oh, I bought $200 worth, so I had 800 Bitcoins.
Oh, you're good. You're good. You could get out of that trailer park right now.
No, I'm not good, because it was on a thumb drive that was lost and destroyed years ago.
Oh.
Dude, 800 Bitcoins. You know what that's worth now?
About almost $1 million.
Man, not that. They're about 700 a Bitcoin now.
Last I checked, it was over $1,000.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was higher than the price of gold last time I checked, but it fluctuates quite a bit.
800,000. They're talking about. I know this is mind blowing, but they're talking about Bitcoin, one single Bitcoin, getting to $1 million.
Oh well, that's I mean, someday. That's crazy talk, though.
I know, but yeah. So. I would.
That's painful. That hurts the inside of me, Johnny. I just got to say that out loud. That makes me sad. You're bumming me out, man. You got to track that thing down.
My grandpa taught me about trading foreign currency.
Yeah.
He used to do it on paper. He taught me how to do it in the 60s and 70s. And back then, if you weren't a bank or you weren't super rich, they wouldn't let you trade Forex.
Yeah.
And in 2003, they opened up the market to everybody.
Yeah.
And by 2005, I had turned like $8,000 into over $100,000.
There you go, boy.
Trading, it's not day trading, it's second trading.
Yeah.
Forex.
I actually had a little bit of an intro with that. Somebody that I know was developing some software to make that easier for the common man, and he walked me through it, and it seemed too good to be true, and unfortunately did not work out too well for him, but I hear people do it. I had a
trade buddy in England named Harry Potter, and it was really something. He's about my age, real cocky, real wild. But we would trade together. We would always be together, trading together and teaching our little secrets, our little tells, our little, and we went in on this expensive program. It was like $700 a month. So we split it in half, $350 each, and we'd give each other, the link. And it was this supercomputer. It was a Cray supercomputer that was combined every known technical indicator in the known universe. It was called Nostradamus. And when you went to the link, it would be this giant dial. And it would just be it was really old fashioned, Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah.
And it was just this dial, and it would just go buy and then sell.
Yeah, that makes it easy.
Yeah. So, but I put everything on the euro US dollar, and everything, all my indicators, I had monitors all over the wall, and all my technical indicators were pointing straight up. Even my magical indicator that me and Harry Potter found in the tomb of King Tut's. We pulled it right out of King Tut's butt. And that was a moving average that always won. But anyway, everything was pointed straight up. I put my whole load, every cent I had, on the euro. And what happens is when you're trading with the big banks, the central banks, I learned that if they're looking at indicators, the same ones as you, and they're all pointing straight up, guess what? They're going to dump like a yard on the market, and it's going to dive. I couldn't punch out of it. I lost everything within less than a minute.
Oh, that's brutal.
It was diving so fast.
How do you deal with stuff like that? It seems like you've got... Now, here's the thing, Johnny. That's a heartbreaking thing. This Bitcoin thing is a heartbreaking thing. This losing your family with the house, this is heartbreaking. Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
How are you getting through it, buddy?
Oh, because, man, I hang out with Jesus. He's like my best friend.
There you go. I mean,
Dude,
really
man.
though. I mean, I gotta say, and again, I'm sorry if this sounds insensitive, but like, that's some real brutal stuff. And people out there right now listening are like, holy moly, this guy's been put through the ringer his whole life, like, and I mean, I gotta say, man, you're a happy, inspiring dude that I admire in that way. And you gotta tell us your secrets, buddy.
This old preacher, man, I heard when I was like, first saved back in the mid '80s. He said, man, he goes, he goes, my best friend always been Jesus. He goes, man, he's gone with me everywhere, talk to me every day, every night, when I'm in bed, when I wake up, when I'm walking down the street. He goes, I wouldn't want to hang around anybody but Jesus. He's the favorite person I know.
That is.
And the worst, the more you go through, if you keep your faith, the more bad things you go through when you keep your faith, you get closer to Jesus because you're really leaning on him.
Yeah.
I mean, you really leaning on him. Somebody told me you just use Jesus as a crutch. I'm like, yeah, totally.
So you gotta have a crutch when you're broken, man.
We're just creatures, right? We're just critters. We're helpless, really. We need a friend in high places, We're doomed.
I do, and I get it, and I love it. I love it. I love what you're saying, man. I mean, that's some real, true faith and friendship with Jesus that I think a lot of people strive for, and a lot of people, I think a lot of people, I don't know if it resonates yet with a lot of people. And I'll say even at times with myself. And I think, I'm not too proud to admit that sometimes, when bad things are going down, I mean, you really got to have your eyes on Jesus, or else things start looking a lot worse.
Yeah. And you know what, I get bummed out, I'm just not, I'm not like this happy guy all the time.
Yeah.
No, I get bummed out too. I get real bummed out. I got bipolar disorder, bipolar mania, actually, split personalities. I will actually split into two people as I'm falling asleep, and they wake me up because they get in arguments.
Do you think that has something to do with that Aleister Crowley stuff you got involved with?
I actually have legitimate personalities. It's not demonic or anything.
Right.
My wife and kid used to tell me the stories about it because I wouldn't know about the conversation because I'd be asleep, it happens just as I'm falling asleep in that moment before. There's like 5 minutes between wakefulness and sleep.
Yeah.
There's that stage where you're falling asleep, but you're not aware of things in the room.
I mean, that's when people experience like sleep paralysis and stuff.
Yeah, I've had that once or twice, but I don't know if it was demonic or actually,
neurological.
Neurological, yeah. I think mine was more neurological because there was no presence. I just couldn't move.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, my wife and kid would tell me the stories about the two personalities that had conversations, and one was they said they were like brothers that were in their bunk beds at night, and they're supposed to be sleeping, but they're talking. You know how that goes.
Yeah, of course.
And one on the top bunk was Tuffy. He's a tough guy, and the one on the bottom bunk was Wimpy. They named him. My wife and kid named him Tuffy and Wimpy. And they would have conversations, and there were some really good ones that woke me up that are pretty cool. One was Wimpy was complaining because he was such a loser and everybody hated him, and he's and then he told Tuffy, he says, you know what, I'm a hazard to the community. And Tuffy goes, hazard to the community? He goes, you're a hazard to the community. We got guys out there committing gun crimes. And that's what woke me up. I woke up and I go, what was that about the gun crimes? And they told me the story.
sounds like I've known people that talk in their sleep, and they will say the strangest things. So that's starting to sound a little familiar.
Yeah, and for me, it's really natural. People think, "Oh, that's really spooky. That must be, traumatic for you." But no, it's totally natural. What it's like is like when you fall asleep at a party, and then people are starting to get rowdy, and you hear the voices, and you wake up.
Yeah.
It's just like that. It's real natural.
Huh.
And then, but as you finally wake up, you realize the voices are coming out of your throat.
You just find yourself talking and waking yourself up.
Yeah, it's like that. The last sound that comes out, you're aware. You can feel it in your throat. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, that was the guys. That was the boys.
Do you think you're dreaming that, or it's just something that's going on in the subconscious or something?
I'm clinically diagnosed bipolar mania, split personalities, MPD. I'm MPD.
And it's nothing dangerous. You're not switching in the middle of Walmart or anything and lighting fire to the dog food?
No, it's perfectly natural. I mean, there's two of me, and one's, scared and weak, and the other one's tough and not scared and strong.
Yeah. I like to think we all have some little part of both of those sides within us. It sounds like at least your two sides talk to each other.
Yeah, and it's nothing weird. I mean, they talk about normal things.
Yeah.
I mean, one time they had a discussion about their favorite animals. And Wimpy is like, I like birds. I like robins and sparrows, and I like quail. I like doves a lot, and I kind of like geese. And Tuffy was like, those aren't animals. I like bears and cougars and Brahma bulls, right? And so Wimpy's like, yeah, I like birds though. I like crows. I like chickens. I like ducks a lot. And then Tuffy had finally had enough of it, and he screams out, "Enough with the effing birds!" That's what woke me up. What about? And they told me this. They told me, the conversation.
That is so funny. So yeah, so I want to know a little bit about your family, because they got to be some pretty interesting folks to be hanging out with a guy like you.
You mean my wife and kid?
Your wife and kid.
Oh, Laura, my dear wife. Love her very much. And Mirren, my daughter, she's about your age.
Uh-huh.
And got a granddaughter, just was born around Thanksgiving. Kellen, little girl.
Uh-huh.
My daughter raised me.
Interesting.
You talk about, I was like the worst parent,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, when I was at Bethel Church, the preacher goes, look, let me ask you guys let me ask everybody a question. Which one of you feels like they're probably the worst Christian in here? And I was in the back, and I jumped up and raised my hand. Right here, baby, right here. People came walking up to me. It's good to meet you. I thought I was the worst. But yeah, I was a bad father, dude. I got a lot to be sorry for. I did a lot of partying, and there was a lot of neglect. And I was a kind dad, and I never spanked my kid or freaked out, yelled at her. But dude, I was gone a lot, and I was high a lot, and I was unavailable, and I was neglectful, and my daughter I would be like just free. I would just be like spinning on crystal in the attic for 2 days. And my daughter would come up and drag me out of the garage and make me sit down and watch a movie with her and eat something and drink something.
Wow.
She raised me. My daughter raised me. She's like a stellar individual, like models.
That's amazing. She's got to be. I mean, do you have a relationship with her still?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we hang out on Facebook and do Facebook messages and stuff. And she lives in a state away out in Idaho, so I don't see her hardly ever, but we talk a lot.
Yeah.
with over texting and stuff like that. But yeah, my wife is kind of a mountain woman. She likes to be alone. She's one of those loners. I mean, she'd rather be like Frontier Fremont or Grizzly Adams and live in a cabin on the mountain with bears and cougars and raccoons for company.
Yeah.
And so she mostly wants to just be alone, but then she needs me then once in a while, and I need her, so I go hang with her,
So
and
you guys are still married. It's just
we get along great. We just get along fabulously.
When the house went away, you decided to find alternate domestic situations.
She did. It was her chance to be a loner, I think, when that happened. She goes, "Oh, I finally have my chance to be Grizzly Adams.
That's
Live
really
on the North Pole."
She sounds like a fascinating individual.
She is. She's a librarian, and she's a bookworm. Doesn't ever watch TV. She just reads. She'll read like voraciously. She's probably read 5,000 or 6,000 books.
Wow.
She's not a reference librarian, but she really is. I mean, you could ask her about anything and she knows something about it. I mean, there is nothing you could ask a question about to her and that she wouldn't have some kind of an answer for.
So you've got kind of this interesting, loving alternative marital situation.
Yeah,
because I gotta say, when you mentioned it earlier, it sounded like your family just up and left you and never talked to you again once you lost the house, which was a little brutal.
No, it's not. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. But yeah, I mean, it was. I always wanted to be, with the wife all the time, but she wants to be a mountain woman, so I got to settle for just seeing her every few weeks, and or even like once a week or once a month or once every 2 months, but she's gorgeous. My wife, she's like Victoria's Secret model. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know why, but I've always had the most beautiful women. I mean, ever since I was a kid, my dad would just shake his head. He'd go, "What is it about you? You're not good looking." Is it? How do you get these girls? And I go, "Dad, don't tell me if you figure it out, please. Don't tell me."
Well, that's fascinating. Huh. I'm always surprised on this show when I hear about people's relationship status, just across the board. I've yet to hear a single marriage story or anything like that has not been entirely fascinating to me. So you're keeping the string running, and I gotta say, I mean, yours certainly is unique amongst them. But I mean, that's cool, man. I'm glad it's not as brutal as it sounded initially.
And a lot of times in life, we kind of got to take what we can get. Right? I mean,
a Victoria's Secret model mountain woman librarian is really, it could be worse, man. I'm telling you right now.
How am I going to walk away from that? It's not going to happen. So. The one thing is that I can, in the trailer park, if I want to watch an action movie, nobody will get mad at me.
Yeah, I mean, you can play all the video games you want now. You ain't got to.
She hates TV, so she hated it when I watched movies.
Yeah.
Shows. I love TV. I know everybody in the fringe community hates TV, but I love TV and movies. Movies.
You just love sitting back. You love sitting back and getting that good old dose of brainwashing, eh?
Yeah, it's like well, actually, if you're a Christian and you're hanging out with Jesus, things won't hurt you.
Yeah, I have heard that.
I believe that. Unless you're weak, then stay away from it.
Yeah.
Because if you're weak in the faith, and especially especially to other Christians that are new Christians and they're weak in the faith, you got to be careful not to be a stumbling block to them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, but when I started the Iron Show, it was like I was such a bad parent, and I'd gone through years of being a really, 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 really bad Christian.
Uh-huh.
And, people will say, "Well, you're not a Christian." Well, no, I was just really, really bad. And finally I said to Jesus one night in 2007, I was crying, and I'm like, "Jesus, I've got to do something for you. I've never done anything for you. Never led one person to the Lord." How long have we been together? 20 some years at that point. I would have been 23 years in 2008. And, Like just show me some kind of thing I can do. Show me something. And then I turned on the TV because I always watch TV. It's like 2 in the morning, Three Angels Network. And this guy goes, have you heard about it? It was a panel that they had at 2 in the morning. It was really totally, like a round table talk thing. This one guy goes, hey, you guys heard anything about podcasting, this new podcasting thing? And they're like, yeah, I heard about it. Yeah, I heard about it. He goes, I think that I heard of this one guy that's doing Christian podcasting. And they're like, yeah, I heard of that too. And he looks at the camera. He goes, please, if any of you know how to use this technology, please do it. And I was like, dude, I was dialed. I didn't have to ask anybody anything. I knew everything.
Yeah.
I've been a recording artist for years. I had a studio. I had one of the first websites on the internet in the early 90s. I knew all about internet protocol. I knew all about internet audio. And I didn't have to ask anybody anything. I just whipped it out, So, I mean, even if it's cleaning the floor in the church, ask God what you can do for him. I mean, there's got to be something you can do for him. Just ask the Lord, say, Jesus, show me something I can do for you.
Wow.
Some kind of ministry.
Yeah, I gotta say, man, I'm sorry. I was a little quiet there for a second, but I was just, something about that was just so powerful.
And it's because it was a powerful moment, dude.
It really was. We did it. We got that powerful moment, bro.
Well, the original experience was unbelievably powerful. So talking about it.
So that's how you started doing the Iron Show. Is what that was kind of a turnaround for you.
Yeah, I was coming off a massive dose of speed when that happened, and my mind, dude, that's a really bad thing to go through. It's like they say it's the most traumatic thing you can go through, but so that added to the intensity of the experience. And when I came out of my senses, I started podcasting, and the rest is Iron Show history. Worked up to. I figured I probably have around 250,000 listeners worldwide by now. If you figure out all the propagation and everything, I figured it out one time. But
yeah.
And if only one of them could be led to the Lord, then I've fulfilled that request I had to Jesus that night. I was crying watching Three Angels Network.
Wow.
And I went to a conference back in 2011, and this big black guy walked up to me. He goes, dude, are you Johnny? The honors? Oh, yeah, what's up? He goes, dude, what's up? And I go, he goes, dude, I got saved listening to the Iron Show, man. I'm like, whoa.
There you go. There's your man.
He goes, I downloaded this thing. It was really wild. He goes, I thought it was like some kind of comedy show or something. I thought, I got to check this. And I go, I noticed it was Christian. I'm like, nah. But I had to give it a listen because, the way you had it presented, it looked kind of cool. And he goes, I was listening to it, and I was just about to turn it off. And I heard you ask your co-host, Rick, what if I'm in a room full of cocaine and Mexican girls, but I want to be a Christian? What do I do?
That's a really good question. That is a really good question.
He goes, dude, I was waiting tables and carrying this tray of water glasses. And he goes, I laughed so hard I dropped the tray and the water glasses, whatever. He goes, from then on, I was hooked, and finally, we used to do reach outs at the end of the Iron Show and lead people through the Sinner's Prayer. And he goes, on one of those sessions, he went through the Sinner's Prayer with us. People say that's not the Sinner's Prayer is not some kind of magical prayer that makes you saved.
Yeah.
Okay, I say nay to that. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's at least a great starting point, at the very least, because.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe I'm not getting down on the Sinner's Prayer. Let me say that right now. But I do know there's a conversation about what actually is required for salvation, and that conversation goes on all over the internet, and I'm not trying to have that conversation. But what I'm saying is, it worked for me.
Yeah. It's the one verse theology. Believe in your heart in the Lord Jesus Christ, and that God has raised him from the dead, and you shall be saved. And St. John said, if you believe in your heart and confess with your mouth, then you will be saved. And that's one verse theology that actually stands alone, if you ask me, because you think about it, God's not stupid. He knows that there's headhunters out in Indonesia that the best a missionary could do is lead him through the Sinner's Prayer. Right? And God's not stupid. He's going to use it. He's not And it's so simple. God had to make it really simple because there's a lot of retarded citizens and autistic people out there, and it has to be simple enough for them.
Sorry, I was just writing something down here because
Yeah,
you hit me.
there's a lot of really, not only are there autistic and retarded citizens out there, millions of them, there's also a lot of really stupid people.
Yeah,
Has to be simple enough for them. God's not stupid.
that's
And then
true.
you talk about the scripture like Mike Heiser says and looking at it in its cultural ancient Hebrew context. Well, again, I have to say God's not stupid. He knows we're reading it now.
Yeah,
And he knew it back then.
yeah, that's a good point. That's
You
a
know?
good point. I mean, those are conversations that are being had everywhere. But the simple truth is that, the salvation of Jesus Christ is not as complicated as some people try to make it. I'll give you that.
But it's good to talk about theology, though, because why are you sitting there wasting your time talking about theology? Well, it's not a waste of time.
No, it's certainly not, and especially at one point or another, that stuff needs to be addressed. But
And end time stuff, there's a lot of people that have been led to the Lord just because of prophecy.
yeah,
It's really cool. They're like, whoa, I get it, because that's just another thing like ancient aliens. Well, then you got Jesus prophecy.
there you go. Every episode of this show, every single episode for like the past 2 months, and probably beyond, people are telling me how Gonz's movie, Age of Deceit and Age of Deceit 2, was just brought everything together and really either strengthened their faith or gave them faith in Jesus Christ. And, I mean, his movie, it's all about conspiracies and Bible prophecy and connecting the dots. And there's obviously a large group of people out there that's what got him there. That's what got him to Jesus. And I love that.
Oh, yeah. It's valuable. The fringe community is very valuable. People say, well, the fringe is just too fringe. They should talk about straight Bible teaching. Guess what? Turn on your radio, your local Christian station. You'll get all the straight Bible teaching you can stand.
Yeah, and they can sell ads.
Yeah,
Us fringes can't sell any ads.
Yeah, and it's good straight Bible teaching. Yeah, you got to have it. But the fringe community needs to be fringe because that's their ministry.
Yeah, that's true. Fringe became mainstream, which it is starting to lean towards the mainstream side. I mean, people are waking up all over the world because of current events, but
Right, and when you see me become really successful, then you know that I've been corrupted.
Hey, hey, don't claim that. we deserve some success too, buddy.
I'm a Canary Cry News Talk listener. I never miss a session.
Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. You
Yeah,
guys started your own little news thing too.
Yes, Fringe Radio Network News, but it's not Canary Cry News Talk because you guys are serious and we're not. I mean, we do throw in a little bit of ministry here and there and do, but yeah, we're laughs and giggles.
We try to get a mixture of. I've been working on my news anchor voice, so when I read articles, I get that nice news anchor cadence, and then a lot of times we just go off the rails. This last episode, we just talked about battling robots for about 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, and you started all off by calling yourself
Battle.
Yeah, Battle.
My name's Battle.
My name's Battle. BattleBots. And Gonz is like, oh, I'm gonna go with the letter M. The Mech-Men. Down in the park where the Mech-Men meet the machines and play kill by numbers.
Yeah, we could have re-recorded, but that's part of the fun. You just
Canary Cry News Talk is like one of the best podcasts out there. I've always been a huge fan since you guys started. I started before you, quite a number of years actually before you. But
yeah, about
when you guys came out, I felt really threatened because you guys are good. Canary Cry Radio. I mean, there is really nothing better out there.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. I'll give a lot of that credit to Gonz with his sound skills here. This is my attempt at trying to produce something, but yeah, I appreciate that. And I gotta say, having you on our show, I mean, that was a big get. I really appreciate that. And at the time, that was like that's when we kind of really felt accepted by the fringe community, because
it's promoting you on the Iron Show, if you remember. I don't know if you remember, but
I do remember that. And yeah, no, I think it's obvious, but I think I saying it out loud, which is, Canary Cry owes a lot to all of its guests, but in particular you, because that was awesome. How kind you were to us as we were starting out. So I really appreciate that, buddy. And I do mean it when I say you are certainly a legend in the community. I know, everybody knows Derek Gilbert and everybody like that, but hey, Johnny Iron's right up there, man.
Mike Heiser didn't know about me, and it really hurt my feelings. Josh Peck was taking questions. He had Mike Heiser on his show like 3-4 years ago. Did you hear that session?
No, I didn't.
Famous session. And so he was taking a list of questions from, his listeners. And, my question, he goes, Dr. Mike, he goes, I can't believe I'm going to ask you this. But have you heard of Johnny from the Iron Show? And Michael Heiser goes, no. And I was like, oh, no. He goes, well, he has a couple questions for you. He's like, okay, because I can't believe I'm going to ask you this. Okay, Dr. Mike, what's your favorite color? He goes, royal purple. And he goes, okay, well, here's the next question. I can't believe I'm going to ask this. Do you like biscuits and gravy? And there's this long silence. And Dr. Mike goes, yes. He was just thinking about it, getting hungry,
Biscuits and gravy, man. I'm going to remember that about him. Next time I see him, I'm going to bring him a big box.
Big box of biscuits and
gravy?
gravy?
I'm going to say from Basil and Johnny.
The way he said yes, you could tell. It's like that's like his dream dinner, Come home to some greasy bacon, biscuits, and gravy. But yeah, I mean, it's I can't talk enough about Canary Cry Radio. I mean, that's my favorite podcast. It's right at the top. Julian Charles, he's number 2 with the Mind Renewed. So sophisticated, so upper crust from the hills of the Lancashire countryside.
Yeah, you were telling me about him. I got to check him out.
Why did I say Julian Roberts? That's weird.
But
yeah, I mean, Canary Cry Radio number 1, Canary Cry News Talk number 2, Julian Charles, the Joyspiracy Theories probably number 4.
Made the list, baby.
Made the list. Number 5 probably Hagman.
Nice.
Number 6 I got to say Josh Peck. Joe Speck. We go way back too. Me and Joe Speck go way back to the beginning.
Yeah, he's a good friend of the shows, of all the shows. I've just personally met Gonz and I too. I love that guy. He had a great episode of this show.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He'd had several episodes. The problem was that he could not get serious.
No, once you get. I think this is a common problem with Josh Peck, but especially with myself, is we just have too much fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would spend long hours talking to him. He'd be like up at 2 a.m. in Detroit, or not Detroit, but Michigan, and
yeah,
we'd just be going on all these laughers and telling all these stories. And dude, Joe Speck, dude, that guy's got some stories, dude. You think I got stories? That guy, man, he's cool.
We all certainly are a motley bunch here. So
yeah.
Look, we're coming up on the 2-hour mark here.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you some of my my ending questions here that I just gotta know, and then I'll give you a chance to say what's on your heart, and then we can call it a day. How's that sound?
Okay, baby.
Okay. All right. Number 1 on the list is, every guest I get on the show, I gotta know if they have any furry friends.
Oh, you know what? That's an interesting question. I do not believe people should own pets.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me about that.
I'm a cat person like you.
Yeah, boy.
And I've had a lot of cats. And my last cat, my best cat, Star General cat, because cats go in rankings, right? I mean, there's
of course
lieutenants, there's but Nigel, he was a big black cat, pure black cat, tomcat. He was the friendliest friend cat that a guy could have. He was a 4-star general cat. He got stolen by an evil homeless lady in the trailer park.
What?
Yeah.
No, and Nigel, why?
Oh man, dude, that was a huge heartbreak. It was like, this is kind of a warning to people. If you do not have your cat registered and chipped, somebody can steal it, and there's nothing you can do. Nothing.
Yeah.
You have no legal recourse. I could walk into your place, Basil. I could steal your cat. You couldn't do anything about it. Nothing.
Yeah.
Legally. So that's kind of, people should think about that. I know they don't like chipping animals, but if you want to keep it. But when I lost Nigel, I realized I had an epiphany, and that my epiphany is that the love that people show animals should be directed towards other humans. We only have so much rocket juice in our bottle, and if you expend love in one direction, that's less rocket juice for like your wife or your kid. So that's my philosophy, and I could be wrong, but I'm like a huge animal lover and a cat person, but I will never own another animal or have another animal.
That's very interesting. That's a very interesting take on it, and I respect that, and that's making me scratch my chin a little bit thinking about that. I know a lot of people, they get a lot of love out of their pets. They love their pets a lot, but I could definitely see how somebody would arrive at that conclusion.
I'll give you an example. I wanted my daughter to come up and visit me, and she wanted to come up and hang out with me, but she couldn't leave her dogs alone.
Uh-huh.
There's an example for you.
Yeah. But isn't that more of like responsibility, and like if more like the dogs are going to set the house on fire more than anything, or she just couldn't emotionally separate from the dogs?
Yeah, that is responsible, and animal lovers need to take care of their pets.
Yeah.
But when you can't go and see your dad and hang out with him because of a dog,
yeah,
you shouldn't have the dog.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's my philosophy.
She needs to get a doggy sitter is what she needs to do.
Right. And there's solutions and workarounds to that. So, if you do have an animal, you should have a plan to where it's not going to interfere with your relationship with other people.
Right.
There was months in a row that my wife couldn't come up to see me because she was training her cat how to use the toilet.
Hey, man, I don't know. This sounds like a worthy cause.
It actually, she was successful.
She does
use the toilet.
I've been fantasizing about teaching my cats how to use the toilet. It just seems like a lot of work.
And it's not one of those cat toilet machines. That cat knows how to use the toilet and flush it. Dude, that's incredible.
That is incredible.
I do have wild animal pets, though.
Some raccoons and opossums.
No, I have crow friends, and they actually come and sit right next to me, and eat out of my hand. So people and also geese. There's geese that come up and just sit with me and eat out of my hand and let me pet them. Wild animals. And people are amazed when they see it. They're like, God, what are you, like Dr. Dolittle or something? Some kind of magic spell with animals? Like, I don't know. Whatever. They know I'm harmless.
Yeah,
probably.
They know you're not going to try to capture them and keep them in your trailer.
Right, because animals use a more primitive form of communication, which is ESP. And people think, the aliens, they use their psychic ESP power on you and communicate with you. That's the more advanced form of communication. No, ESP is the primitive form. Language is the more advanced form.
Mind reading is the primitive form.
Yes, that's the animal. That's nature. That's the primitive form.
So you have geese and ravens coming up to you, or crows, and reading your mind, and they read your mind, and they say, "Oh, this guy's not going to try to eat us."
Yeah.
Oh,
that's what it is. That's my guess, anyway.
Well, yeah, it's as good a guess as anybody's, I guess. Okay, so that was actually again. You're just you're giving me answers to questions that I've never heard before. This is a world expanding interview for, I think, everybody experiencing it right now.
Whoa.
So I thank you for that. Okay. Okay. Last question. Now, a big part scientifically that has helped me and a lot of listeners to this show, kind of get our act together, kind of help us pay more attention to our well-being, includes our physical well-being. Working that body, putting in the good fuel. Now, I know I'm gonna call you out here. You mentioned before this episode you had to go get some Rockstar, burning that hot white Rockstar fuel. But what do you think? Do you have a fitness regimen and a strict diet of Rockstar, or what are you looking like now?
Actually, I live on Skittles and methamphetamine.
You can't. If you're joking, you need to tell us, because I don't know if we're going to be able to discern the truth from reality.
Yeah, I do not. I don't do drugs.
Okay.
No. It's been years and years. So
you've replaced the amphetamines from or with Hot Pockets?
No, yeah. I try to stay away from the junky foods, and I always every morning. Sometimes I forget, but I chug down a packet of Emergency raspberry flavored.
Oh, there you go.
1,000 milligrams of mineral ascorbate vitamin C, the best you can get. Totally absorbable, loaded with also B vitamin ascorbates.
That's good for energy and such, right?
Well, no. Vitamin C is the glue that literally holds your body together, and that's why when you get scurvy, you literally start disintegrating. You start falling apart.
What about that B12? That good B12.
B12 is hard to absorb. You got to do a sublingual on that. You need a good sublingual, and the sublingual is a pill that you put under your tongue. It's usually got a good flavor, and it just let it dissolve and soak into the underside of your tongue. That's how you absorb B12.
So you're on that futuristic, nutrient diet where you get the nutrients before you get the calories.
Yeah, I guess so. I start out with in the morning I start out with my chug of Emergency, and then I drink coffee, and I usually get like a cookie or a brownie to get that the carbs going.
You get all the vitamin C, the vitamin coffee, the vitamin cookies. Okay, I'm on a roll now.
The B vitamins, and then at lunch,
vitamin brownie.
A lot at lunch. A lot of times I'll go to Subway and I'll get double vegetables. All the vegetables are double vegetables because they don't charge extra for extra vegetables.
Oh, see, that's their mistake. That's their mistake with the business model.
I know, huh?
Get all
How did you do that?
I don't know. I have a feeling that's news to a lot of people, though, to hear that. We should all be taking advantage of. We should all be exploiting Subway's vegetable policy.
Yeah, you know about that, huh?
I do now.
Yeah, so I'll get I love the BMTs, the Italian. It's pepperoni, salami, and ham, and then I get double tomatoes, double olives, double jalapenos, double lettuce, and I get a shot of vinegar because vinegar is really good for you. Get a shot of red wine vinegar on it.
Whoa.
And yeah, baby, and black pepper. Which black pepper is like a secret of life.
You spice it up. Are you spicy, man?
I like black pepper. I'm queer for black pepper.
There you go.
I could open up, this little hole thing on the top. I just rip that off and pour the black pepper.
Just go to town. That's your secret to youth and wellness.
Yeah, black pepper, dude. And I'm a working man. I'm a laborer.
Yeah.
So
you get your physical fit. You get paid to stay physically fit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the way to go, brother.
It's not. That is not. No. Yeah. That is not the way to live. I mean, you need to get a nice job in a nice office making good money, and then go to 24-hour fitness for your workout.
You know what, man? You're always keeping it real. You're always keeping it real. I'm trying to make everything sound good over here, and you're just keeping it real.
That's the thing, for youngsters in there, get your education, get get a good job, and better yet, like listen to guys like Josh Talley who show you how to start your own business. That's how you succeed in America. America is designed for the businessman, for the guy selling hot dogs on the street. The system is designed for that. And I should have gone that direction. I really should have. I wish I would have. I'm an old man now. I'm nearly retire. I'll be a senior citizen in September.
Oh, wow.
So,
Grandpa Johnny.
The big 55.
Oh, my voice just gave out there.
It's not actually too late for me, but I should have gone that direction when I was 20. So anyway.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's good news. I think that's advice for everybody out there who's still got a little time left. But I will certainly be doing my best to take advantage of that. So far, I don't know if Patreon is necessarily the way to go. I'm going to give that one to the youngsters. Follow your dreams, but use PayPal.
And I encourage people, and this isn't some kind of, thing, like, Steve Quayle is, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt, but I would encourage the listeners of Canary Cry Radio to donate something to them, because these guys put out quality. I mean, it's the best podcast out there, and they need your support. And so I know you got $10. I know you got $10. When we're done, I'm going to figure out how to send Basil my $10. And I know you guys can do it, all the listeners out there. Let's send Basil and Gone $10. You got $10. Don't lie to me. Don't tell me you don't, because you do. So cough it up. These guys, they're out there doing serious ministry. They need your support. So.
I got to thank you, and I got to thank some of the other guests I've had on this show. You guys are just so supportive, and I swear I'm not paying you guys to say this. I'm not.
No, I would. No way. In fact, I wouldn't do it if you told me to say it. So what? I'm gonna come over and take $10 from you, Beth.
Well, I really appreciate that, man. That's awesome.
Another thing about you is you're one of the most handsome men that I've ever met.
Oh, I forget. You're one of the few who's actually seen me in person.
Yes. Yeah. I was amazed at your form of manly manhood.
Now, did you see me without the fake beard, or was it just?
No, I saw you with the fake beard, but I could tell. I mean, I could see you. I could tell where you look. I was standing right next to you. I was hugging you.
That's true.
And I was like, remember I was telling you, I go, you are so pretty. You're the best looking men I've ever met.
I tried hard to be in disguise, but a lot of people didn't like it.
You're like, Johnny. I go, I'm not saying it's not gay. I'm just,
it's interesting. I planned on actually talking about the time that we saw each other at that conference, but we just didn't really get to it. So
yeah, we hung out with Basil and Gons, and they are really cool in person. I mean, you guys are so cool in person. You're every bit what you are on the radio.
Oh, I appreciate that. And you got to see me get kicked off of my MC job at that conference too.
Let's talk about context. You are the only Christian. Okay, let's take Basil out of context, and then let's put him back in context. And so you always got context is king. Remember that, listeners.
Okay, I like this.
The only Christian, like minister guy that I've ever seen pull out a carton of Marlboros and say, "This is what you need."
Oh,
right
stop! People are gonna believe you.
Okay, no, it's true that you did that, but I just took you out of context. What you were talking about is surviving in an apocalypse where the hordes are roaming the streets.
My gosh, I can't believe that you remember that, and I did not.
Oh yeah.
I also took out a giant jug of moonshine.
Yeah, you pulled out a carton of Marlboros and a giant jug of moonshine, and this is what you need to survive. And you're like, everybody's like, oh, and you're going, no, it's not for you. This is what you trade for food. And I was like, totally. Can you imagine in a post-apocalyptic scenario where the street gangs are in hordes? And you know how much food you could get for 200 Marlboros? Oh my God.
I totally forgot about that. Oh my gosh. We had people leaving. Like during our presentation, I kept seeing the doors open in the back and people leaving. We
They were just going. They had to go to the bathroom. They had to take pee. It wasn't like that. Everybody there loved you guys, and that is true. I mean, in a post-apocalyptic survival situation, well, that was hard to say. I mean, a carton of Marlboros. I mean, yeah, dude, you should have like a case of them.
Yeah,
ready.
It is. That's going to be the currency.
Yeah, with your dried vegetable packets,
Yeah,
and your dried protein MRI rations, you should have a case of Marlboros there too.
Oh my gosh, can't believe you remember that. That's awesome.
Oh, that was so great. Anyway.
Oh my gosh, I'm losing my voice on this episode. You're breaking me, Johnny.
I know. People say I'm abrasive and taxing, but
yeah, well, even if that's true, it's totally worth it. The reward is worth it. So, man, like I said, I could just talk to you forever, and I really, maybe after this we could spend a little bit more time talking, and I will put that on as a bonus episode on the Patreon, just because I can't stop. But we are getting up; we're over 2 hours now, which this is when people start yelling at me. So. Johnny, I gotta say, man, this has been a wonderful conversation. You're a wonderful guy, and you've really, like I keep saying, you're one of the daddies, one of the granddaddies, one of the daddies, one of the weird uncles of the fringe Christian community, and I recommend everybody out there just go listen to the Iron Show. Admittedly, Johnny will admit this himself. You're not gonna know if you like it until you listen to it. So give it a try.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but if the intro's too wild for you, fast forward it till we get to the serious stuff. So,
yeah, there you go.
It's ironshow.com, ironshow.com. That's ironshow.com. I learned that from Pastor Lynn Marzulli.
Yeah, you're a real professional.
Yes, and you'll find Iron Show live on our live sessions some Thursday nights, once in a while now, and all our Iron Show live archives at fringeradionetwork.com. That's fringeradionetwork.com. Once again, that's fringeradionetwork.com.
That's right. fringeradionetwork.com, and we're working on getting this show on there, so that'll be cool too.
Yes, you've just joined the family, and we want everything you do on the network.
Yahoo! So I'll be plugging that the next few episodes and getting people over there. That'll be awesome. It's a great place, a lot of great shows. Everybody should go check out. It's a great resource. Just so many shows to explore. So go explore them. Go do it.
Yeah, and we're on a mission at Fringe Radio Network to make it something real, something sacred. I want it to be something where when I'm dead and I'm standing in front of Jesus, he looks at me and goes, "What's that?"
Well, Johnny, thank you so much, man. This has been a great episode, and I'm sure we're definitely going to keep in touch, and I'm sure the listeners will hear from you soon.
All right. If you want to talk to me, it's ironshowstudio@gmail.com, ironshowstudio@gmail.com, blah, 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 ironshowstudio@gmail.com.
I knew to wait for that third one. All right, buddy. Well, it's been great. Thanks for coming on the show, and hey, we'll hear from you later.
All right. I love you.
I love you too.
Goodbye. Joy, joy. Joy, joy.
Well, there you have it, folks. Hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. Johnny Iron, such a great heart on that guy, and such a wealth of experience, and just keeps on trucking. Good old Johnny Iron. Once again, welcome to all the Iron Show listeners. Hope you guys enjoyed this very special fun time with your buddy Johnny. All right, one more time, thank you to all the Patreon supporters, especially Aurora, Beth, and Judy. And guys, we are getting so close to that first goal, which is going to help get these out on a more consistent basis. I know that was kind of a problem the last couple of weeks, but we can solve this together if we band together. And anyways, it's great. Just so you guys know, if you do become supporters of the Patreon at $5 a month or more, you will get access to all of the bonus episodes. We've got bonus episodes with Gon Shimura. We've got bonus episodes with Eddie and Jamie and just so many bonus episodes. Oh man, I bet I'm forgetting one. This is not good. Anyways, they're all great. They're all wonderful, and you're going to enjoy them. And now, soon, there will be a bonus episode out with Johnny where we talk much more about some of the things that we talked about here, as well as some other things. Just more, it's just more, you know? More? It's just better. That's what Mama told me. I think Johnny actually told me that his mama said that. So, there you go. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that. I keep saying that, but that's okay. I just really do. Hope you do. Go to Facebook, like the page, The Joyspiracy Theory. Go to iTunes and leave a rating or a review. A rating is like 5 stars. So like 1 star is like, oh, I listened to the Joyspiracy Theory, and then I had ants in my kitchen. That's a 1 star. The other, if you give 5 stars, it's like, oh, I listened to the Joyspiracy set. I can't even remember the name of my show. The Joyspiracy Theory, and after I did that, ants never bothered me ever again, and that's great because I was afraid of ants. So thanks, Basil and the Joyspiracy Theory. 5 stars for you. And then a review would just be typing out that long, arduous story about ants and letting people know that the Joyspiracy Theory is their answer for their ant problems. Okay, moving on. Somebody let me know that the voicemail doohickey on the joyspiracytheory.com website was being a little finicky, so if that's happening for anybody else, I apologize. I've got the team on it, my IT expert team, which is again just mainly my cats, but we'll figure it out. Anyways, I think that's just about it, everybody. Thanks again for listening to the Joyspiracy Theory. Check out all the stuff we got going on around the web, and again, sorry all the YouTube listeners, there will be a big old batch of videos coming out soon, so you can go subscribe on YouTube. All right, thanks again to Johnny. Okay, I think that's it. Okay, everybody, make sure to tune in next time to the Joyspiracy Theory, because when it's raining on your head and there's mud in your boots, just flip on the old podcast tunes and toots. Yeah, that one wasn't bad. Okay, bye.